Transparency, I ain't been back to Florida.
All right.
I ain't been back to Florida.
Uh,
One of the biggest things for me was joining so I could travel, right?
mhm.
And of course, there's the selfish reasons for that, but the unselfish reasons is because wherever I get to go, now y'all have a reason to go, right?
Yeah.
So everyone that is still in my circle from my childhood, I've tried to bring them everywhere I've been. Shout out my sister Chrissy. She just graduated with her bachelor's.
Nice.
She's been up here. We've taken a couple road trips.
Yeah.
My mom's coming out next week.
Nice.
My aunt, she's already been up here a couple times.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I haven't been back to Florida, and there are a couple people, right,
Yeah.
who were in my life as a child. They went off, they went to college. Some made something of it. Some of them had a couple more trials, and they weren't as successful with it. They think what they think, but I try not to pay attention to the negative.
For sure.
Hey, they didn't think I would do it, but I did it. Really having it, really winning. Was times that I thought I'd forever be sinning and spending whatever to stand on the business. But God bless the game, did it all but a sinning. All the shots they let off, but they ain't hitting. All the shots we let off, they ain't mentioned was hitting. Go ask why he's fighting them limping. Never change, I'm the same as just in me. The only thing changes the pay for my bill. Can't forget about the diamonds and chains on my pendant was starving, but now we each stay for a living. If we ever fell out, you was fake or we can switch sides, don't be standing on. But yet I'm the biggest, ain't changing my clique, rep to 6, disrespect and get put in that dick.
I won't let them change me. I remain.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Basement Club Podcast. In case you forgot, I'm going to remind you, I am the NCO with the most, Philip Taylor. And today I got a very special guest, another young gunner. Already been an Airman of the Year. Already has been a Volunteer of the Year. Multiple time Airman of the Quarter winner. Please welcome to the show. Welcome to the clubhouse, my man, SrA Randall Malley, man. What's up, man?
What's going on? What's going on, family?
Finally got you on the pod, dog.
Yeah, man. Blessed to be here.
You know, when I saw you in the gym that one time with Senior Rivers, you was like, I wasn't gonna hit you up. And first of all, I appreciate that because I took it as a personal slight, man. So I had to get my man on the pod, and finally glad I got you, dog.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So question, man. I like to ask all my guests this when they first get on. When you hear the things that you've done, right, the different awards, the different accolades that you have achieved so far in your short career, does it make you cringe a little bit? Like hearing other people talk about you like that?
At first, right, being a selfish, arrogant individual, you love it, you know what I'm saying? But I say it boils down to who you are as a person, right?
Yeah.
Recently, a little, because the longer you in, the more you realize about the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the awards don't mean what they actually mean. It's all about who's sitting in the seat at the time,
Right. Yep.
So yeah, it just depends on where you're at in your career. I'll say some of it's a little cringy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean.
So we're gonna get to that. But before we get to that, I want to start from the beginning. So growing up for a young Randall Malley, how was it growing up for you? Like, what did you do to keep out of trouble, to keep your head straight?
I still don't think it's straight. Well, I'll say trouble is very easy to find, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially growing up in Florida.
Yeah.
And I like to go on the record and say all of Florida is not the same,
Yeah.
You got your panhandle people, you know what I'm saying? A50 rep it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
You got your people down in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So I say for me, working was the main thing for me, right?
Yeah.
Of course, like every other individual, I thought that I was going to the NBA. You couldn't tell me otherwise, you know?
For sure.
But I had a mother who absolutely cared about me, and an aunt who's like a mom. They cared about me. She cared about me as well.
Yeah.
So I want to be a class clown.
Okay.
I want to be the person in class making jokes. Like I said, trouble is real easy to find.
Yep.
And I seem to always be the person that got caught. Everybody else, they was hanging out. With me, I was the one that got caught, right?
That's how it is.
So, my mother told me, you don't know how to act in the classroom. You don't know how to act on the court neither. She took me off the team for a whole year.
God, dog.
And I say the fun wasn't there no more when I was allowed to play.
Yeah.
I ain't have no discipline, so I couldn't play while practice.
Yeah.
So when I did get the chance to go back, it wasn't the same.
Right.
And I was like, man, forget this. and I started working.
Yeah.
And then I learned that I enjoyed having a paycheck more than I did playing basketball on Friday night, you know?
For sure. Yeah.
So for me, it was work. It was
Mhm.
work. My first job, Burger King. Um, and then, I mean, I messed around and I got a second job on the side.
Mhm.
So I was juggling two jobs and school. And then in the state of Florida, if you are an active student in school, you can only work a certain amount of hours.
Right.
But like I said, I enjoy money,
Right.
right? I like the little lifestyle that I live. So I was like, okay, cool. I had a conversation with my guidance counselor. We doubled up on my classes.
Yeah.
And I was able to graduate early, making it to where I could work more and make more money.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so second I graduated, I was able to work a little bit more. And then when I turned 17, I was able to become a shift lead, so then a little bit more money.
Yep.
So I didn't really understand the whole concept of don't chase the money,
Yeah.
let the money chase you, because I was chasing the money,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I can't get in no trouble if I'm on the clock.
That's true.
So that was the biggest thing for me, just working and then having those small conversations with my aunt is like a mom.
Yeah.
And I think that was really helpful for me too, right? Like having two moms in a way.
Yeah.
I had the actual mom that gave birth to me.
Yep.
She said all the things that you're supposed to say as a parent.
Of course.
And me being a child, it went in one ear and out the other.
Of course.
But then I have my aunt who's like a mom, and she said the same things. It just was a tad bit different. It was, I'm gonna talk to you like you're a young man since that's what you want to be, right?
Yeah.
And it was raw, uncut feedback, and I've learned that I receive that a little bit better.
So you're working, like you said, you get into the money, you're making it happen. When you initially tell your family, like, hey, I want to pursue the Air Force, what was the initial reaction when you first told them that?
It went over a little bit easier than others, right?
Yeah.
Because I have an older brother who was already in the service,
Okay.
going through the process.
Okay.
And me choosing to join was actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Funny little story.
Mhm.
So my older brother, like I said, I graduated a semester too early, and we were looking at a bunch of scholarships to go to the community college
Yeah.
for me. But me being young, thinking I'm grown, I was going to college for every reason but the right one. So he had a conversation with me, and he was like, hey, man, why don't you start a career? And then after you get through basic training, you'll learn a little bit more discipline, and then you
Right.
start taking college classes, because then you actually succeed in the classes,
Yeah,
right?
foundation, yeah.
Exactly, because at that time, like I said, I was going for the wrong reason. So I probably would have flunked out. Transparency. So he had me go down and talk to the recruiter that recruited him. It was a good conversation, and they sold me on the whole leaving Florida part.
Yeah.
So that's how it went for me. It was a smooth transition. I'm the baby of the family, so
Yeah.
my mom, she already knew about the military because she went through with my oldest. But of course, there was a small little conversation like, "Nah, my baby, he
Right,
gonna be
yeah.
out there."
Yeah.
I had to explain to her the same way every player on the football team isn't the quarterback.
Yeah.
Everybody in the military ain't on the front line.
That's true.
sweetheart.
That's true. Yeah.
So after those conversations, and she decided she wanted to come talk to the recruiter with me. After that conversation, it was smooth sailing.
Okay. So you brought up, when they first instilled the idea of you leaving Florida. So as we know, you left Florida. Usually when you leave a place, you're leaving back groups of people, that you grew up with, and, some were good and some maybe not as good for you.
Yeah.
When you go back now, when you go home to visit family, do you still see those people? And if you do, like, what is the reception? Do they think you a big shot now? Like, what's the...
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Transparency, I ain't been back to Florida.
All right.
I ain't been back to Florida. One of the biggest things for me was joining so I could travel, right?
Mhm.
And of course, there's the selfish reasons for that, but the unselfish reasons is because wherever I get to go, now y'all have a reason to go, right?
Yeah.
So everyone that is still in my circle from my childhood, I've tried to bring them everywhere I've been. Shout out my sister Chrissy. She just graduated with her bachelor's.
Nice.
She's been up here. We've taken a couple road trips.
Yeah.
My mom's coming out next week.
Nice.
My aunt, she's already been up here a couple times.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I haven't been back to Florida, and there are a couple people, right,
Yeah.
who were in my life as a child. They went to college. Some made something of it. Some of them had a couple more trials, and they weren't as successful with it. They think what they think, but I try
Yeah,
not to pay attention to the negative.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you haven't really been to Florida. So once you left, you're gone. Cool. Boom. So you leave, you enlist, you get to basic training. Now, I know you got the basic training around September 2020.
Yes, sir.
So you got there deep during COVID times, right?
Yeah.
We're right in the middle of it. What
Yeah.
was that time period for you, going to basic training, being around a whole bunch of people, something is new for you. Oh, on top of there's a global pandemic, so you can't really maneuver like how you want to maneuver.
Yeah. There's probably about one thing I remember from basic training. That is what the ground looked like.
Okay.
It was a lot of push-ups. It was a lot of push-ups.
Yeah.
I stated before, young, selfish, and arrogant individual. I didn't necessarily understand the aspect of teamwork as much as I do now.
Mm.
So, and then, I mean, being from Florida, we talk a little bit more aggressively than others.
Yeah.
And we don't mean anything by it, right? So all my Florida listeners, y'all understand what I mean, right? They think that we're being smart or we're being aggressive. We're not. That's just the way we talk.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily understand the rank structure of the military. I'm talking to a master sergeant as a trainee. He's a regular person, right? Like not understanding the positions, right? The dorm chief and whatnot. I'm talking to him as if he's a regular individual. No, he's our dorm chief. He's supposed to be our leader, right?
Right.
So there was a lot of lessons learned through push-ups.
Yeah.
But with it being COVID time, our flight size was half.
Oh, okay.
We had to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever marched with the mask on.
I have not.
They tried their best to like let us take off the mask as much as possible, but I can tell through some of the stories that I've had from other people who are in that my COVID basic training was a tad bit different. There's some steps that we skipped, right?
Right, yeah.
I think my beast week was like 3 days.
What?
We didn't do the gas mask chamber situation.
So you didn't go through basic training. If you didn't go through gas, is that basically what you're telling me right now?
Nah. Look, I wear my stripes proudly. I have them. The qualifications were met, but I think they were just worried about safety and whatnot. So there are a couple things that we had to skip.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, push-ups. That was the number one thing that I remember from basic.
So you graduate basic training, you go to Keysler. Now, I don't know if you know this, I'm from Mississippi, right?
There we go.
That's the home state right there.
Okay.
So I know you from Florida, so it wasn't really, as far as like the heat and things like that, the weather wasn't that big of a shock for you. But as far as like culture wise, like what was your first thought when you got to Keysler and the bunch of country bumpkins running around the place?
So another blessing from COVID, we were locked down to the triangle.
Okay.
The triangle is dormitory.
Yeah.
That's what we was locked to.
Yeah.
Outside of going to the DFAC or the BX and then marching to school, we didn't get to go off base. We were locked down. Yeah. But the tech school experience was very interesting, right?
Yeah.
I just went through roughly 2 months of basic training, and then I finally think I'm getting my freedom back.
Get the tech school is.
Second I get off the plane,
Yeah.
we got MTLs with blue ropes screaming and shouting. I'm like, whoa, brother, whoa. You know what I'm saying? Relax. But no, it was a good time. It wasn't as much freedom as I would have preferred, but it was more than what it was in basic.
Yeah.
And then we got new rotations coming in every week and whatnot.
Yeah.
And just seeing how an individual transform from the basic mindset to the tech school mindset. It was interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you finally graduate tech school, you get to your first base. And I know you brought up the knucklehead aspect of it, when you first joined and going through basic and tech school. What was the thing that switched your mindset? Where it was like, okay, if I really want to make a career out of this, I'm going to have to change the way that I approach things and, how I overall carry myself.
I don't think that switch happened until I got here. The whole 2 years while I was in Turkey.
Yeah.
I was in Turkey. Anybody that's been overseas, they understand that.
Yeah.
You know, but I will say that when I was in Turkey, there were multiple individuals who saw the potential that I had that some would say I was wasting.
Right.
And they tried to latch onto me and give me motivation and whatnot. Some eventually left because they felt like they were wasting their time, which is rightfully so, and some stuck it out. So I think the biggest thing for me that made me switch my gears and whatnot is the mentors that I have not giving up on me.
Yeah.
And then having people who were put under me.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? When I got here, I was no longer the baby airman, right?
Yeah.
With PCSs and PCAs and people deploying,
Yeah.
it got to a point where I was the highest ranking member in my shop.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter that I put on senior airman 3-4 days ago, right? It was, hey, you're the highest ranking.
Yeah.
And I don't know isn't an answer that's feasible from you, right?
Right.
So I think that's the thing that made my gears switch, because now I was no longer in the fight for myself, and I was in it for other people, right? Like, what are these new airmen watching? What are they seeing? And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me. That's my why now, the people that's under me, trying to make it a little bit easier for them.
So you say when you got here, this when you first, okay, I need to start doing things a little bit differently. And I know you brought up the fact that when you got airman, this one, you were like, okay, I need to be a role model. But can you pinpoint that moment? Like, was it a situation where it's like you saw one airman, he did something, or he or she did something? Like, oh, damn, I went through that shit. You know what I mean? Like, what was that? The root cause? What was that thing that?
The root cause
that it just clicked for you.
It would probably be it would be 2 months into my deployment.
Okay.
I had just graduated from tech school.
Yep.
I think I was boots on ground for maybe 24, 48 hours.
Yeah.
They got wind that I had went to tech school. Not tech school, ALS.
Yeah.
I apologize, ALS. They got wind that I went to ALS and graduated, and they was like, bet, you got 2 troops.
Oh.
And one, rock star, one, he was on his way out the door, so he didn't really care too much about nothing.
Yeah.
But I saw myself in the rock star, right?
Yeah.
He was young in his career. He was bullet chasing. He was doing things he didn't really care about.
Yeah.
And it clicked, a conversation I was having with me when I was that individual, just doing things just to do it. And I had to have pretty much that same exact conversation with him. And then I was like, okay, so you're telling him these things, but if your actions don't line up with your words, why are you even talking to him?
Hypocrite, yeah.
So I think that was the pivotal part in my career. And then, yeah, the actions had to follow up, because in the midst of that conversation, he was also honest with me, and he pointed out some things for me, right?
Yeah.
And I think feedback, right? We talk about how it goes up and down the chain, but I think the feedback that comes up hits a lot harder than the feedback that's coming down, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I've had multiple people that's above me give feedback and whatnot.
Yeah.
Some of it sticks, some of it in one ear, out the other.
Yeah.
Transparency.
Yeah.
But when my troop gave me feedback,
yeah,
I was like, oh, it hit like a brick,
yeah.
you know? And yeah, that was that thing that really like clicked. That was that pivotal moment for me.
So you brought up once you graduated, when you graduated from ALS, they hit boom, give you 2 troops. So speaking of ALS, do you feel like that they equipped you with the skills necessary to handle taking on 2 troops as soon as you did it?
No.
Why?
No. But I will say that it's no fault to them, right? They don't pick the rubric that they're given to teach, right?
Yeah.
So I think they did a phenomenal job at teaching what they were supposed to teach, but there's just some things that you can't teach.
Right.
And that's the reason why I say no. Because every situation is different. Every troop's different, right?
Right.
In a perfect world, what they taught, it works out, right? But we don't live in a perfect world. You have troops that are a year out from getting out of the military. And the only reason why they're here with you on this deployment is because their leadership, where they were at, didn't want to deal with them for that last 6 months to a year. So the mindset that they're walking out there with is, I don't care if I leave here with a debt.
Right.
I'm gonna do what I want to do when I want to do it.
Right.
There's not a single lesson in there to teach you how to handle that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's not a lesson that teaches you how to emotionally operate being there for a troop who loses a parent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? These are things that you have to learn through trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said before, the things that they are given to teach you, it scratches the surface of it, right? They teach you emotional intelligence. They teach you how to gather your thoughts and then act when your troop pisses you off.
Yeah.
They teach you how to, sometimes you have to just tell your troop, hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
But then also double back later when there's time and explain to them. They teach you how to, you know, learn the individual first.
Yeah.
So you can understand how to lead them.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's a double-edged sword. They teach you what they can, which is typically just a surface, but there's just some things that you can't teach. You have to just go through it and learn.
So when you first got to Hanscom, you know things are different around here. This place is
Hansconisms.
Hanscom is it? It's yeah. So when you first got to Hanscom, and you know it's a sleepy base, how are you able to keep focus on what's important to you? You know, whether it's your career, school, things like that. Like what drives you while you're here to keep focus on what's important?
What drives me? What drives me? Before we could get to what drives you, you definitely got to take a minute and actually understand what it is that you actually like or want to do, right? I feel like there's been an influx of younger airmen here at this base, right? First base and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they're young.
Yeah.
They're inexperienced, not just in their career, but also life, right? Yeah. And you got to actually sit down with yourself for a second and find out what you actually like.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're running a race with no destination, you know?
Yeah.
So once you figure out that part, then I'll say the whole driving aspect, what keep me on track is I'm the biggest advocate for mentors. But don't just get a mentor to get a mentor, right? Get a mentor that actually connects with you.
Yeah.
And there's no limitation on how many mentors you have, right?
Right.
I think I got a mentor for every aspect of my life. Like, I got a mentor that I will literally talk to this individual for personal life things, right?
Yeah.
I got a mentor for just my car.
Yeah.
All we gonna talk about is my car. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And having that mentor, they'll kind of take on that role and responsibility as far as keeping you motivated. Because not everybody's just a self-starter like that, you know? And that's okay. That's okay. Me, for the longest, I don't think that I was a self-starter. I think that I'm slowly starting to become one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, the reason why I'm becoming one is because of I've become a mentor to others.
Do you think you're misunderstood sometimes? Because you came in, you shining, you fresh, but a lot of people don't come from that background.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not used to seeing that. And especially when, like you say, you think military, you think front lines, you know, hard nosed, you know, grunts, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel people understand not Airman Malley, but Randall?
No, and some of that is because of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hired Randall. When I introduce myself as Malley.
Yeah.
Because I believe that not everyone deserves to know Randall.
Mm-hmm.
And that does sound a little bit selfish, but it boils into also me protecting my peace.
Yeah.
Because there's some people, we're just supposed to be coworkers.
Yeah.
You know? And that was a lesson I had to learn. But no, I definitely feel like I've been slightly misunderstood, but that's also because there's been times in my life where I wasn't willing to be open to be understood.
Right.
I can't understand you if you're not willing to let me understand you.
Got you.
And that's a hard lesson that I've had to learn. It's stunted my growth a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but we all got growing pains.
So what would you tell an airman like yourself, you know, who probably has a hard time opening up or has a hard time, you know, being vulnerable enough to let somebody understand you? Like, what would you tell that person to kind of, I'm saying let all your guards down, because like you said, everybody needs to be coworkers. But
Absolutely.
just open the blinds a little bit, just so they can just take a peek to see what's going on up in there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'll say that don't be afraid to let people in,
Mm,
but in the process of letting people in, have your ears and your eyes wide open
mm,
because the fake is not hard to see,
yeah,
and when you see it, believe it.
yeah,
Right? Don't be the benefit of the doubt. Right? Don't be that guy.
mm,
Don't be the guy that gotta give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Oh, you didn't mean it. Da, 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 da.
yeah,
Right? I like to play baseball with people. Right?
yeah,
First time, okay, cool. It might have been an accident.
yeah,
Second time, all right. All right. Third time we done. Like
yeah,
there's no more discussing that needs to be had, right?
yeah,
Um, and I feel like, you know what I'm saying, same thing with the military career, right? We call it what? Progressive discipline.
yep,
First time, oh, conversation.
mm,
Second time, all right, well, I gotta give you LLC. Third time, LOR. Come on.
yeah,
Like, you know?
yeah,
So I try to do the same thing with people, and that's the advice that I would give an individual, right? I feel like that's the beautiful thing about the military as a whole.
yeah,
Everybody's coming from so many different walks of life, right?
yeah,
I feel like the military is one of the only places where you'll find somebody, right? He's a cowboy. He's a brother, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And
yeah,
this man is a suburban, right? And all three of them be hanging out best
tight,
time. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And I love that about the military.
mm,
So that's another piece of advice that I would give that individual. Like, be open to hear everybody.
yeah,
Because everybody has something cool about them.
yeah,
So yeah, be open, listen,
mm,
right? Because that's one of the biggest things. Everybody likes to talk.
yeah, 100%,
You know what I'm saying?
100%,
But it's very hard to listen while you're talking.
yeah,
So just listen, because that's when you learn the most.
mm,
And when you see what you need to see, either go in that direction or be like, oh, I appreciate you, but
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Military dating, man. Tell me about it. I'm old, man.
It's a scary thing. It's
Why?
a scary thing.
Why you say that?
It can either work out in your favor or it can't, you know?
Yeah, but it's anything.
Absolutely.
That's anything.
Absolutely. I think there's some successful military relationships out there,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's some that has ended tragically, you know? But I don't think we get to choose who we love.
Yeah.
I think that when it happens, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But to go back to the same thing from the last conversation, when the BS shows itself, believe it. And I know it's hard to do because love will have you feeling blind, stupid, deaf, and everything in between. You know?
Yeah. Well, trying to see how can I frame this question? Well, man, I'm about to sound like the old unk, man.
Talk to him.
You can always, like how you talk about love and leave you, dumb, deaf, and not be able to see what's going on. But you should always be able to love within reason,
Yeah.
right? To be transparent with you. We're all about transparency. When I got married, to my wife, there were a lot of situations that I went through growing up that I had to overcome to be able to love within reason. You know what I mean? Because, when I was younger, I didn't know how to love.
Right.
It's something, it's a skill that you develop through trial, error, and seeking help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm still young. I'm old plus young, whatever. But it's something I'm still learning right now. You know what I mean? And what I would tell you is, don't be afraid to make a mistake. And sometimes that is what comes with love. Sometimes you gotta fuck up sometimes, man. There were a lot of times that I fucked up. Being married, I got married young. I was 26 when I got married. Nope, 25 when I got married.
I hope the missus ain't watching.
Yeah, I was 25 when I got married, and and it was a lot of times that I fucked up. And I'm sure my wife she'll attest to that. There's a lot of times that I fucked up. But you got to be willing to fuck up, but also apologize. Go back and say, hey, you know what, that was me. It won't happen again. And on top of that, being able to change for yourself, being able to change yourself. You know what I mean? Like seeking help, or whether it's reading a book or talking to a mentor, things like that. You know, just be willing to change.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Be open minded, be willing to change, and just be willing to you know, go with the flow, go with the current. But I do want to ask you this. Going back to when you were talking about mentors and the importance of mentorship. At what point did you figure out that was so important? Because when you first get into the game, especially the military, you're not thinking about a mentor. Like, I got this. I read all the articles, read all the books, and watched all the videos. At what point you was like, man, I need some help. Like, I can't figure this out. I keep bumping my head, man, I need some help.
I think that everybody always tells you, oh, no one cares about your career more than you and
Yeah,
whatnot. It doesn't connect at first because at that point in your time in your career, you might have people looking out for you, right?
yeah,
I don't think that it actually clicks until you are fucked over.
yeah,
And I hate that that's the way that it works, right?
yeah,
But when you are in a situation where you did everything right
hmm,
and things just didn't pan out,
yeah,
because sometimes it's not about what it is, it's not about what you're doing,
yeah.
it's about who you know,
That's true.
right?
Yeah,
And when you're put in a situation where you did everything that was right, but the people who make the decision are looking out for certain individuals
yep,
for a number of reasons, right? Like, oh,
yep,
I know they extended the whole higher tenure situation, but
hmm,
there's people who's been passed up on opportunities because, oh, this person needs it because they're coming up on that higher tenure.
yep,
Or, oh, this person's, what I'm saying, the golden child right now, or whatever the case may be. I think that's when it really connects to you that no one cares about me more than me. You actually start looking out for yourself.
right,
And that's when mentorship comes into play, right? Because that mindset can take you one or two ways.
yeah,
It can make you that airman that everybody hates and don't like, or what I'm saying, prefer not to work with. I don't
hmm.
like using the word hate. I apologize.
No, you good.
Or it can make you that airman that has a Cinderella story, right?
Yeah,
You weren't so great, but then that mentor helped you hone in that anger, frustration, all the emotions that you were feeling, and you got to business, right? Y'all
mm,
create plans of action to set you up for success. And I think that's when I realized how important mentors were, because I hit a little bump in the road in my career,
yeah,
right? Like I said, I had a brother who was already in.
yeah,
He already went through all the things that I was about to go through, right?
hmm,
I thought I was hot, right? We could read my first evaluation whenever you like. You can't tell me that I wasn't, what I'm saying, a phenomenal candidate for BTZ, right?
doing the thing, yeah.
But things didn't pan out for me, right?
Hmm,
I ended up not being submitted or whatever the case may be. Of course, you're supposed to be giving feedback.
yep,
I don't think the feedback was great.
okay, yeah,
And I felt a lot of emotions and whatnot. And I had a mentor who sat down with me, and he gave me 24 hours to feel whatever I was feeling.
yeah,
And he said, after that 24 hours, we're going to sit down, have lunch, and we're going to create a plan of action
yeah,
so we don't feel this again. We're going to do everything that needs to be done so they can't tell you no,
yeah,
right? Like, it's not even a question of whether or not this is our guy or not, right?
hmm,
And that's when I realized how important mentors were, because the things that I was feeling, I was going to go this way. I was going to be that guy that nobody wanted to work with no more,
yeah.
you know? So, yeah, I got fucked over in my career.
Did it?
And someone who's already been in that position where they
Yeah,
were fucked over, they saw it, they felt what they felt.
yeah,
They did give some very constructive criticism
yeah,
that was hard to hear,
yeah,
right? But transparency of the situation, I left the door cracked for them to have something negative to say, right?
yep,
and my mentor showed me a way to make it to where that door was locked shut.
Yeah.
So yeah, being fucked over.
What's your dream?
What's my dream?
Whether it's Air Force, personal life, 10 years, 15. What's your dream?
You know, I came in knowing I was doing 20. If I could have signed for 20 as I joined, I would have.
Okay.
Now, very recently, right? You know, them trials and tribulations, they done had me rethinking them 20 years.
Yeah,
But
I feel you.
I think the goal is still the same for me, right? I want to do 20. Now, whether that's on the O or the E side, I haven't finalized that decision, right? But I think I got 20, if not 20 plus years to give.
What's holding you up on going from Edo?
Me, right? Yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
I've successfully acquired the CCAF.
Yep.
Thank you to all my mentors and supporters who helped me get me through that. We're 6 classes off from the bachelor's.
Nice.
So me, because I'm in a situation where it's like, this is a game, right?
Yep.
Everything has to line up a certain way, and timing is everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So going from senior airman to staff,
Yep.
we just went and got this associates.
Yep.
Going from staff to tech, we'll get this bachelor's.
Yeah.
Right? Like you see the lining up, the setting up, right? Plans of action.
Yep.
But the other side of that coin is, okay, well, we could just go ahead and get this bachelor's and then forget the whole, like, cool.
Yeah.
Like, forget it and let's just flip sides. But I am still fighting a battle internally and still figuring out whether I'll make a better chief or colonel. I haven't made that decision for myself yet. Because I love being with the people, right? And if a chief does the chief duties correctly, the love for the people is phenomenal. The impact, right? Because a lot of airmen, you know what I'm saying, big A, but mostly little A.
Right.
You see a bird on somebody's chest.
I ain't trying to talk to you.
I ain't trying to talk to you. I ain't trying to kick it with you. I ain't trying to skate with you.
None of that. Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to make sure everything look picture perfect.
Yeah.
When you come around.
Yeah.
Like we got to know in advance when you come. You can't just pop up. You know what I'm saying? However, come on the other side of that chief, right?
Yeah.
You could get out there. We could play intramural sports together.
Yep.
We could just have conversations.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You still are a part of that statute to where it's a flex if you say, hey, I was talking to Chief such and such, right?
That's true.
But you're still on the ground with the people a little bit more, and people aren't as scared to talk to you, right? And I don't want to lose that ability to talk to people because, as I said before, my reason for being it now is the people. Yeah. You know? So it's still an internal battle that I got, but you can't argue with the officer's salary, you know?
I'm saying.
you can't argue with that, you know?
You dangle that carrot in front of my face.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm still trying to figure that out.
What is, so far, what is the biggest regret that you have? Whether it's in the Air Force or just in life in general, what's the biggest regret you have right now?
I give you one on both sides. Okay. I say the personal. Me not opening up, that has transpired on both sides, the personal and the professional, right? And I do understand that people grow apart. Yeah. But it is a lot easier to grow apart if you're not putting in the work to hone in on that relationship. So I'll say there's some people who isn't as active in my life anymore because of me. And that is one thing that I regret, right? Not capitalizing on those friendships or, you know what I'm saying, family ships, you know? Right. So that's one thing that I am working on, and that would be a regret on my part. Yeah. But as far as the personal go, and I say professional, the mill-to-mill relationship, my boy, you know?
Oh, you good? Go ahead.
The mill-to-mill relationships. They say don't stick your pen in company for a reason. You know? So yeah, that would probably be. I've learned a lot of lessons because of it. I'll say that. Yeah. that and just no, on a more serious note, a more serious regret that I have as far as my military career is taking so long to learn how to code switch. And that might open up some new doors for conversation for you, but code switching, taking so long to learn how to, right? Because it's a game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you either gonna play it or it's gonna play you. Yeah. Yeah.
So code switching.
There we go.
Since you brought it up, right? So code switching. Have you found it, because I do it all the time, have you found it difficult? In what situations have you found it difficult to have to code switch?
So it took me so long to learn how to code switch.
Yeah.
Because I was scared.
Okay.
I was scared that I was gonna lose my actual self
Mm-hmm.
and trying to play the part, right?
Yeah.
And then doubling back to mentors, right?
Yeah.
I had a mentor
Yeah.
who told me, "Nah, you don't gotta lose yourself. Because the uniform it comes off 4:30, right?
Yeah.
So it's like still be yourself,
Yeah.
but also understand that there's certain parts of yourself that can't show, right?
Yeah.
It was like the best person at code switching is the same person both persons at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while you're in that uniform, you're still gonna see Malley while he's being Senior Airman Malley, right?
Right.
But I say like a situation I found it a little difficult to code switch in is
Take your time.
drinking is very important in the military for some strange reason, right? Like it's a part of everything, right?
Right.
Somebody wins something, we gotta go drink.
Yep.
Somebody going through something, we gotta go drink.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's a regular day, let's drink. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I will say when you involve alcohol, but you're also in that military aspect, code switching is a little bit difficult then, right? Because it's like, you know what I'm saying, that Henny start Hennying, and you know, it's just
that Florida come out.
You feel me?
I feel you.
And then they just turn their head like, who is this? He done threw back. No, wait.
Whoa. Wait a minute.
But yeah, and then I'll say other aspects where it's difficult to code switch is things that you feel passionate about, right?
Yeah.
When you feel like things are outside of your control,
Yep.
and it's a situation where rank is flex, but you accidentally take it a little bit personal, and you don't think about the rank structure, right? You feel like as a man-to-man situation, or whatever case may be, and the pride becomes a part of the conversation, right?
Yeah.
That is a situation where I feel like code switching is a little bit difficult because the switch get turned off.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
Like when I feel like me as a man, I'm being attacked.
Yeah.
That's when it gets very difficult, right?
Yeah.
And that's where emotional intelligence come in. Sometimes it ain't as easy as it sounds.
I got one more for you.
Talk to me.
One more for you. I'll let you go. So going back, let's go back. 2020.
Yes, sir.
Right before you get on that plane to go to Lackland, Texas. Knowing what you know now, what is one thing you would tell at the time civilian Randall Malley before he gets on that plane to go to Lackland, Texas?
Have fun. Everything isn't as serious as it seems. Right? Take 90% of what is about to come your way with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day going in. That'd be the advice that I give him.
We can end on that. That's a wrap, man. My boy. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.